Before Facebook, before the internet, before 24-hour news media coverage, if you wanted to find out what was going on or what people were talking about, you had to go to a place like Duke's, the old diner on Walton Way. For decades, news, opinion, rumor, and camaraderie mixed with grits and eggs to populate an Augusta landmark. It all began in the early 1950s when James Duke rode into town on a Trailways bus hoping to get work in the restaurant business. Years later, he told the Chronicle, he figured he'd get a job at the growing Savannah River plant if he couldn't find something in the food industry. But find it he did, and when he finally called it quits decades later, Duke was one of Augusta's most popular restaurant managers, and his restaurant on Walton Way was a regular morning meeting spot. If you were a young reporter about 40 years ago, you knew who James Duke was. He was tall, he was thin, he was in charge. And the people in his restaurant not only had good food, but they talked a lot. And they knew what they were talking about. It started when Duke left his native Jackson County at age 16 and went to Athens, where he found work at the Varsity, famous for its hot dogs and onion rings. Duke came to Augusta in 1950, which was booming with Savannah River plant construction. He figured he'd get a job there if the food business didn't work out. He found work really fast. He got off the bus at the Trailways station and got a job in the Trailways restaurant. Later, he moved to a place called Bill and Harry's on the 500 block of Broad. Then he moved to a place called the Hot Shops up on Central Avenue. Well, when the Hot Shops franchise here on the 1900 block of Walton Way got into some financial trouble, Duke and his partner Buddy Chambers bought it. The name was changed after a Maryland Hot Shop franchise took them to court. Chambers got out of the business and Duke took over, and the rest is history. The restaurant found much success after it quit serving 3 meals a day and focused on breakfast and lunch. The political and social reputation of the restaurant had actually started at the Central Avenue location, Duke said years later. The same group of men began to show up when the place opened each morning. When Duke moved to Walton Way, they moved with him. They even had a name. They called themselves the Early Bird Club. And their relationship with Duke was so close that he gave them a key to open up. That's because they kept showing up so early that he wanted them to let themselves in to go ahead and start making the coffee. Politicians, from former Governor and President Jimmy Carter to U.S. Representative Charlie Norwood to State Senator Tom Allgood, knew the value of an appearance at Duke's and came there to campaign. All the politicians would come here, a customer told a reporter on the restaurant's final day of business. You'd see all the attorneys, judges, and legislators. You wonder if you could even try a case in the county without coming to Duke's. Duke, who died in 2009 at age 82, never forgot his customers or the people he worked with. He loved people and loved going to work at the restaurant every day, granddaughter Laura Duke once told me. He enjoyed his customers as much as they seemed to enjoy him. He highly valued his customers and the service they received. He made sure they got good hot food at a good price. From 1956 until 2000, when it closed, the Duke restaurant had the reputation for being the place where political deals could be made and discussed. It was, as the late Senator Tom Allgood once said, the get-together place. Well, today we get together to remember it.